What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good day. Hope everyone's staying happy and healthy and staying inside with all this craziness going on. I had some extra time today, so I wanted to make a quick video talking about target panic, talking about the different style of release that I currently use versus what I used to use, and how that really has helped me become a better archer, a better hunter, better competitive shooter, and just really completely, at this point, cured my problem with target panic. So in front of me, I'm going to pan over to this later on, I have three different style of releases. And the first style of release that I have here is a trigger release, which I'm sure that many people watching, if that'll focus, I'm sure that many people watching, whether you're just getting into archery or have been in it for a long time, you've heard about these releases and seen them. This is the main style of release that people will start using when they first get into archery. And many very successful archers use them even today. And it's a very simple design. Basically, this wrist strap goes right around your wrist with a buckle, and there's a closing jaw of some sort. And when you go to draw the bow, you simply press down on that trigger and it releases the jaw, and that's how the bow fires. I started shooting this style of release, back when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, right when I first started shooting. And it was a great, easy, simple way to start shooting, and there's really no problem with this release. However, many times when people start to shoot, they're led down an incorrect path about the correct way of how to shoot. And in this video, I'm going to go over how to fix that and what the correct way actually is. So, the problem that many people have with releases like this, when they don't know how to correctly shoot them, is a problem called target panic. And basically what that means is, in a nutshell, your brain can't do more than one thing at one time. So, when you're at full draw, if you're focusing on taking your hand and pressing down on that trigger to fire, at the same time, while you're focusing on that pin and putting it right on your target, there's a good chance that when you decide to press that trigger, you're going to flinch, or you might hold your pin low on the target. You might find it difficult to bring it back up. And now that might sound crazy, but it's hard to explain until you really experience it for the first time. But it's a major problem that many people experience. I shot like that for many, many years, and I was able to shoot well, but there were always times where I'd make a bad shot, whether it be on an animal, unfortunately, or in a competition. And it cost me many times, and I never really understood why that would happen, why I'd shoot so well all day and I'd just make a bad shot, and then it seemed as though that bad shot would lead into 10 more bad shots. It was just something that I couldn't break. And I really learned how to fix that by using back pressure, shooting a release with back pressure. Now, you can shoot a release like this, a wrist release, with back pressure. People do it all the time, and it's very easy. However, I decided to completely switch the type of release that I shot. I went over to a handheld release. I switched over to a Silverback, as you can see here, which is produced by Carter and Knock On, which is John Dudley. And I also switched over to a Knock To It, which is basically the same release, but they fire in different ways. The Silverback, it's very interesting how the Silverback works. Like I said before, this is a back tension release. So the way this release works is with a screw at the bottom and a spring that's actually inside the body of the release. You can adjust how much pressure it takes to break the release to fire. So with this thumb button right here, when you're drawing the bow, you press that down and it's a lock. So it gets you through full draw, and once you're sitting at your anchor point, you slowly release that lock, and you just continuously build pressure by pushing forward with your left arm and backwards with your right arm at the same time until slowly that shot will break open. And it'll allow you to shoot a perfect surprise release. And what that allows you to do is you're not focusing on pulling the trigger, so to speak. You're focusing on just aiming. And while that may sound crazy, when you actually do it for the first time and you're able to really just singularly focus on aiming, your groups will almost immediately get much tighter. I know they did for me. So basically what this release does, I use it as a training tool to really focus on making perfect surprise releases all the time, just like so, just by pulling back. And if you want it to be a little bit lighter so it'll go off easier, or a little bit heavier so you really need to focus more on pulling through that shot, you can just adjust it right at the bottom. Now, the other release that I use, which is the Knock to It, I bought both of these releases at the same time because my frame of mind is that, as you can see, they're basically the same release. They hold in your hand almost identically, and I use the Silverback as a training tool for this release. This thumb button release I'll use in competitions, I'll use when I hunt, in high pressure situations. So the Silverback allows me to shoot this release much better, much smoother, and much more efficiently. And the way it works is it's not like the other one where you have that safety. So you have this small button right here, and when you press that button down, it closes this jaw, just like so. And this button here, similar to that of the wrist release, when you press down that release, or that button, it pops it open. Now, I don't fire it that way. I fire it the same way that I fire the Silverback. And I'll show you exactly how I do that right now. So, once I clip this release onto my D-loop, I know this is just a piece of string, but to symbolize a D-loop on a bow, I get to full draw, and I'm making it a point not to touch that trigger, because if I do, that bow will release. But I get to full draw. When I get to full draw and I get to my anchor, I'll wrap my thumb around that trigger. And same as with the Silverback, I just focus on pulling through the shot, pulling forward with my left hand and backwards with my right. And just almost opening up that shot until you get a perfect surprise release. And it allows you to solely focus on aiming your bow. And that is such a big advantage when you're hunting, and when you're, especially in competition archery. It's made a massive difference in my shooting. So that is basically the gist of the video for today, guys. I don't want anyone who's watching to think that I'm saying if you want to cure your target panic, which is a very common problem that many people have, you need to get a back tension, you need to get this release. That's not the case at all. You can easily fix your problem just by keeping the same release that you have. I just shot the wrong way for so long. I simply wanted to try something new. That's why I switched over to a handheld release. But it is very easy to shoot a wrist strap release. I'm sorry. It's very easy to shoot a wrist strap release with back tension. You do the same thing, but it takes practice. And it's going to feel strange at first. It's not going to feel correct. It almost feels as though it's going to scare you a little bit almost when that release goes off. But that's okay, because you're going to notice once you get used to that, you're going to shoot much better. And as you can see, as I'm going to demonstrate with this wrist strap release right here, you can easily do the same thing. Now, I'm not going to press my finger down on this trigger. I'm simply going to push forward with my left hand and back with my right, almost like I'm opening up both my arms at the same time, and I'll be able to get that release to fire without pressing singularly on that trigger, just by opening up and going through the motion of the shot. That way I'm not focusing on pulling the trigger, I'm not focusing on firing the bow, I'm simply going through my motions and focusing on aiming, and that shot will just go off as I'm aiming. So this has been a pretty short video, guys. I hope it's helped you out in some way, shape, or form. Like I said, I know that I shot years with target panic. I thought that was just how you were supposed to shoot, and I didn't have anyone to really tell me otherwise. I heard people talking about shooting with back tension, that was the correct way to shoot, and I tried it, and I couldn't get it at first, and it really took me time to switch over. But now that I have, obviously I'm a big fan of it. So any questions that you have about this, feel free to put them in the comments below. I'm very passionate about this topic because I've seen the drastic increase in my efficiency as a shooter since I really made this switch, not to the different style of release, although that has helped me, but the different style of shooting, from just pressing that trigger to shooting with back tension consistently. It's been a major plus for me as a shooter. So again, any questions that you have below, I'll read through them and answer them if you got them. Again, I hope everyone's staying safe with this craziness going on. Stay inside, be safe, do smart things, and I really appreciate you watching. If you don't mind, please like, subscribe, and that's it, guys. Hope you have a good day and stay safe. Thanks for watching.